Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode. I normally don't do these. It's normally Sean or Bo running these things. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm Gab. I'm one of the AEST team. And I have the privilege today of interviewing Dave Clarke, who is the successful applicant of our Glen Gardner Scholarship program for 2023. It was the first year that we ran the program. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, we have created a scholarship program in memory of a dear friend of ours, Glen Gardner, who sadly passed away on the 9th of October 2022. So we created a scholarship program to honour him. And if you want to read more about it, you can go onto our website and have a look. We'll add in some links there for you guys. But Dave, you were our first successful applicant the first year that we ran it. How did you find out about the Glen Gardner Scholarship?
Well, my wife runs our social media side of things, and by that I follow the ACE page on Facebook and the like. And I think it popped up there one evening, and she sort of came up to me, having read about it, and showed me it. And I mean, I thought it was a great thing to be offering, and yeah, wanted to be a part of it, or try to be a part of it at least. So yeah, threw in an application.
Yep. Oh, nice. So Alicia gets the credit for that one.
Absolutely. And then she was the one who actually pushed me to finalize it as well, because I was hovering over that 5 minute video for quite some time. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that was the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's always the tricky part of an application, whether you're applying for a job or a scholarship or something, when they want you to give a video explaining about stuff about yourself and you have to talk about yourself, that's always a difficult part, isn't
most
it?
definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I found, well, probably the most difficult. I think it took me a number of takes to actually get through the 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
got it done and submitted, and yeah, fortunate enough to be successful with it. So
Yeah, nice. No, we were all very uh, in awe of your application. It was a really great application, and yeah, you definitely hit home for a lot of us. It was definitely stood out amongst the crowd. So, um, what was it about when you saw it and you read up about the scholarship? What was it about the Glen Gardner Scholarship program that resonated the most with you? What about it?
I think more so Glenn's background, with him having been in another field initially. I think it was in excess of 20 years or something like that within banking. And then he had a major change into the remedial massage side of the things. And similarly as to him, my old job before getting into massage was quite stressful. I was with the police for 12 years and then had a change, and got into the remedial massage side of things. So
Mm.
I think when I read about him and how Glenn had progressed from one job to another, and then done all these wonderful courses that yourselves at ACE were offering, I think that's kind of in a way was sort of a link. It's very similar to how I ended up with the remedial massage job myself. So
Yeah, yeah, you found you had the same background, yeah, and you had that same massive change in career, which I think that's why I resonate with Glenn too, is because I had that huge change. Like I used to have a finance background, was doing a lot of administration stuff, and I think that's why Glenn's story resonated so much with me. Like meeting him, we had the same sort of story, going into therapy and myotherapy and massage therapy and stuff. And I've ended up back in the same sort of finance stuff with ACE anyway. But yeah, it's a very similar story, isn't it? You've walked the same sort of path in another sort of universe.
yeah, exactly right. And reading it was pretty well a cut and paste of exactly what I'd done as well, right? I mean, obviously different jobs, but
Mm.
what led us to seeking that other job was very similar. So that's
Yeah,
basically what hit me pretty well with it.
yeah, and I think ideally what comes out of it, the common theme is that you both just wanted to help people, like, and you saw a need for helping people and helping people in pain in particular, and understanding that there's such a relevance to the physical pain and your mental health and different things like that. And yeah, making that connection and making a difference in that way is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the biggest things I think, which led me towards the remedial massage side of things, was being able to help people.
Mm.
And with not a great deal of qualifications behind me prior to joining the police, the diploma for that was a short enough time frame that I was able to get that done and start working again. So
Yeah, yeah, because it's a scary, it's a big leap of faith when you've chosen a career path, you follow it, and you sort of you get on. Like I was, I think just before I'd sort of turned 30, and I'd sort of already made this decision that I was going down a certain path, and then to make a big change to go, I'm going to go back to study and do something completely different. It's a huge leap of faith. Like it takes a lot of nerve and to make that decision, and it's quite brave to make that decision. So it's a hard one.
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I originally thought that the policing side of things would be something I'd do up and until retirement age, and
yeah,
but of course that changed. So the the new path has presented itself, and it's I can attest to it being a much better workplace and work environment, and yeah,
yeah,
significantly better, and then some.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah. Better for your mental health and
Oh, mate,
yeah,
yep,
still helping people, but in a very different way.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, obviously you chose to apply for the scholarship because you value education. Why is education so important to you as a clinician?
I think just being able to, well, I guess, have the knowledge, and a fellow I used to work with many, many years ago always used to say that knowledge is power.
Hmm.
So, with respect to massage, albeit, you know, um, not quite as progressive or progressed as, your myotherapy and osteo and chiro and everything like that. But, if you have a better understanding of how the body works and how you're able to help people, um, and with different modalities from, cupping to needling to um, uh, other, well, eventually will be this weekend actually the joint therapeutic course that I'll be
Yeah.
doing as well. So I think with the variety of things you can do, it's just you're able to help people a lot, probably at a broader level, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good saying, isn't it? The knowledge is power. And it's not, but I think it doesn't always come down to having like power over others or anything like that. It's just um the more knowledge you have, the more fulfilled you are. Like it
Yeah,
always blows me away. You don't know what you don't know
yeah,
until you know it. So, and then you just realize how the more that you know, the more you learn, the more you realize that you actually know nothing compared to what you thought you knew. So, so
very much so. I can attest
yeah,
to that with when I did the needling course with Bo, and the entry sort of slides and things that he was showing, and when he was using some of the words, and I had absolutely no idea what they were. So I was sitting at the back, probably Googling what they were 5 minutes
go
about that. So yeah,
a little
I'm
cheat sheet.
definitely, yeah, most definitely learned some new things with that. And yeah, I definitely don't mean, like you said, the power over people. It's just,
Yeah, yeah,
the more knowledge you have, the better you feel about yourself,
yeah,
and the more
yeah.
confident you are to be able to talk to people in a work environment, and yeah, and help people at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's a very powerful thing to have knowledge and to keep learning and to have um, a passion for learning too. Like it can be hard to come by sometimes for people to actually have a passion to know more about what they're doing day to day. Sometimes it's really easy to get into fall into the trap of, getting a qualification and going in and you start doing the work and you're working every day to make a living, and then you sort of just go, oh well, I've got this, I feel like I've got the hang of it and I've got a good place and they like what I do, and I'll ticking along as I am now. And but it's great that people like yourself have that passion for wanting to know more, and people like Glenn obviously had that passion for just wanting to know more and more.
yeah, well, have been following yourselves for some time, and I just find it with all the research that's developing and everything like that, there's a lot of new stuff out there, and some of the things I've learnt maybe however many years ago probably might not be relevant now. So
Mm.
it's a progressive thing as well. So if you're learning the more up to date studies and research behind things, then of course you're going to be well better off for people who are walking through the door, right? So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's the thing with the research that's out there. Sometimes by the time the research actually hits us, by the time a research article gets approved and we actually get to see it, it's 10 years old by the time
mm,
that even happens. So even the stuff that we're learning sometimes is still so has been researched so long ago. It's so important to stay up to date with this stuff. So yeah, well done on having the passion to want to do that.
thanks.
Going back to the 9th of October last year when I called you up and very cheekily tried to psych you out of whether you'd been a successful applicant. What was going through your head during that phone call?
Well, the phone call caught me off guard because I remember, well, initially in the phone call you said that you'd sent out an email, but it ended up in the spam box, so I wasn't even
Yes.
aware that I'd been shortlisted.
Yep.
So I think that was kind of the phone call itself surprised me a lot. I wasn't expecting it. Had I read the email, of course, then it might have been a bit different. But yeah, it
Yep.
probably took me a good probably 30 seconds or so to realise it was you and it wasn't
Who I
someone.
wasn't, what I was talking about, that I wasn't a telemarketer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, and it wasn't someone having a lend of me. But then as the phone call progressed, the way you delivered it was, yeah, very cunning. But because I actually thought it, and I said this to you and Sean, was I thought it was the letdown phone call and that I
Yeah.
was successful, but you were just thanking me for applying. And then yeah, at the end when you or toward the end when you chucked the sneaky switch in there, I honestly thought I was going to swear, but I did pretty well not to swear, I think.
You did very well. Yeah. You were
And
very calm and collected. I was like, wow.
yeah, well, it's not. Well, people will attest to this. It's not often that I'm speechless, but I honestly didn't really have much to say, and I felt a bit goofy after I'd hung up the phone because I hadn't really probably given much in the way of a response, but it absolutely floored me, like
Yeah.
legitimately floored me, and I just I really had nothing else to say. I had
Yeah.
nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah, as I said, kudos to you because you did a really good job on that one. So
Yeah.
for anyone in the future who does apply, you're going to have to come up with a different strategy,
I
perhaps.
know. Yeah. Yeah. That was Sean's idea. He goes, oh, I reckon we'll try and word it a little bit like this and say, oh, well, unfortunately, you'll have to spend a bit more time away from the family because, you've won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he can take credit for that one. It was his idea to psych you out. So I
No.
probably would have been really nice and just told you straight up, but
No. Well, as I said, well played. That was a good one, and I do remember that. Yeah, the spending more time away from your family line. I think that's one of the ones that sticks in my head the most.
yeah,
And that's when it clicked, of course, that I
yeah,
was, the winner of the scholarship. So yes,
yeah.
no, it was a good one.
Nice. Um, what have what's been the biggest benefit to you in being awarded the scholarship so far? Do you think?
Um, Well, I guess having access to all the courses is pretty incredible when you think of it from not only a learning perspective, but then from a financial perspective as well, to be honest. Like I run my own business and it's only myself. So despite what some of my friends think, if you're going to be doing courses and or travel and things like that, you need to come up with the money before
Mhm.
you're able to spend the money, right? So
Yep.
um, yeah, the webinars and access to all of them online, plus the online courses have been great. I'm chipping away at them in my own time when I can,
Yep.
and then the face-to-face stuff and the ability to attend all the courses at a time which suits myself is yeah, beyond unbelievable, really. It's been brilliant. I've had the dry needling course was at the start of February, I think it was, and then
Mm,
backed that up with the functional cupping, which was in Sydney. Um,
yeah.
so I've had a month and a bit break from that, done some online stuff, and then, as I said before, heading to Melbourne this weekend
Yeah,
for
you'll
the
be with Sean this weekend. Yeah.
yeah. So I look forward to meeting Sean, and
You're doing joint
yeah,
therapeutics.
so yeah, I think just that access to the brain's trust, basically, I think
Yeah.
is magnificent, and yeah, yeah, that still leaves me a bit speechless that I'm able to get to all the courses and have access to all of that stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It's yeah, and I think that's probably one thing that we do mention it, but it is like the online course content is so valuable because you can do it in your own time. And when you someone like yourself who lives in a regional area, like you live in Wagga, and it's you're not in Sydney, you're not in Melbourne, you sort of you've got Canberra sort of close by, but it's still a bit of a hike, and so you've it's not easy to get to places, and so it's this is the online course content's really valuable to people that live in regional areas because you can access it at any time. You can do it in your own time and you can do it from home. And sometimes all you need is a willing participant to be a little dummy to practice some techniques on. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I don't think, I think, yeah, the online content, as much as people love coming to our face-to-face stuff, there's so much value there in what you get online too.
That's
Online learning has definitely taken a skyrocketed since COVID. It's definitely taken a big platform now in our in our manual therapy space.
yeah. Well, and I mean the online content is thorough. Like, it's not as if you're missing anything by not being face to face.
Yeah,
And then, like you said, being in Wagga, I'm 5 hours from Sydney, 5 hours from Melbourne,
yeah,
and regional flights are fairly costly.
they are. Yep.
Or travel, just the mere fact you have to spend 10 hours in the car to get to the courses. So that
Mm.
online portion of it, yeah, keeps things ticking in between them. So it's great, great content.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah. Um, so my next question is, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in the time you've spent in clinical practice, and what have you found to be the most useful in overcoming these?
Um, do you mean like from my personal perspective,
Yeah,
or um,
yeah, just clinical practice. Like it could be anything in terms of your challenges of running your own business, working for yourself, only having you to rely on, or it could be something that you've been challenged with, um, yeah, in clinic from a patient that you've been a real head scratcher and how you've overcome something like that.
yeah, well, I'd say probably the confidence to not come across as a salesman of sorts. You know how
Mm,
sometimes I'll get people in here who have been to another modality for treatment or something like that, and there are occasions, if it's not a discussed treatment plan, of course, and they say, I need to see you next week, but they don't give an explanation. I kind
yeah.
of that for me is the communication side of things for that has been probably my most challenging thing,
Hmm.
and trying not to push people into to coming back, but explaining as to why it would benefit them, I guess, and sort
Yeah.
of having that better communication with them, so they don't feel like, yeah, I'm just having them back for the sake of it, really. So
Yeah, yeah. And it
that's
all comes with practice, doesn't it? Your communication style and your confidence as you in the field for longer and seeing more patients and things like that.
yes. Well, the massage course gives you the very bare bones of what to do and how to treat people and speak to them at a basic level.
Mm,
Um, and then, of course, you come in here and you know nothing essentially, and you're just massaging because that's what you learnt. Well, I learned in Wodonga, so
yeah,
it's doing the same things you learnt over that 12 to 18 month period, and
yeah,
then your research and so your confidence grows. And so, yeah, I'd say my confidence is something that has challenged me initially, most definitely.
Yeah.
But doing the courses that I've done over the years, and then now through ACE as well, I think that'll help with that most definitely. And just getting a better understanding of things will, yeah, make me more confident as a therapist for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a good trait to have, to not be a pushy clinician, because when you truly believe that you need to see someone, then you will be not pushy as such, but you'll be passionate about it. You'll be saying to them that this is my clinical reasoning as to why I think you would benefit from further treatment. And if you're not sales focused, that's a good thing. You don't want to be just asking people to be coming back in the door. Obviously everyone's got a bottom line, and they've got to make a living. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're there for your patients, and it sounds like that's the type of clinician you are. You're there to benefit people and to make them better. So
Mhm.
if you can see a reason for that, then you'll ask them back. And if not, then yeah, help them and send them on their way.
That's definitely Wagga's one of those. It's a relatively small comparative to the bigger cities, right? So I think we're probably a touch between 70 and 80,000 people.
Mm,
So a big inland city in the sense, but it's got that really small town syndrome still. And that's not a negative thing at all. It's people talk, right? So a lot of my clients come from word of mouth.
yeah,
And you find if you do a good job with someone and you treat them well and you respect them and everything like that, then they're likely to go and tell their friends in the gym or the CrossFit gym that I see. uh, and so I find that that's helped a lot in not working in a metro area. Perhaps it's
yeah,
benefited me. I don't think I could live in Sydney or Melbourne. I like visiting, of course, but
yeah.
Wagga's the perfect size for me. I'm very country kind of boy. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're in a little regional town too, and we're very much the same. We love little regional towns and a bit more of a homely feel for us. So yeah, but you do get that word of mouth is more common with smaller towns. I find that you don't get it so much when you're sort of like a little fish in a big pond in the capital cities, or you can be. So it can be hard sometimes to get that word of mouth. The regional towns, yeah, it's definitely a great place to be yeah, running your own business. It's um, people talk, and everyone, there's always a connection between people. There's more connections between everyone that
yeah,
yeah, than what you have in the city. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'd say at a guess, I'd say somewhere between or around the 85% of my clients or new clients come via word of mouth,
yeah,
and then the rest are through like your Googles or your socials and stuff like that. So it's
yeah,
for mine, and I can see I kind of structured my roster in a way to see sort of around that 30 a week.
yeah,
And yeah, the vast majority are coming, yeah, from that word of mouth, and not many from the socials or Google. They pop up occasionally, of course, but
mm,
yeah, it's usually one of the questions I ask is, how did you hear about me? And they'll say, oh, such and such told me or said that you were great at A, B, and C. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what you want to hear. You want to hear that you're getting word of mouth. It's happening organically rather than having to, it's can be very expensive putting money into advertising, or
well,
trying to get a good Google rating, or trying to put stuff on socials. Socials isn't always the best way of getting your name out there. So
yeah,
yeah, that's amazing. Having word of mouth is a real testament to what you're doing. The fact
yeah,
that so many people are recommending you is awesome.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that's tracking. So uh,
Yeah,
either that,
yeah.
or I always say that I'm just paying the right people, perhaps.
Little thing on the side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Okay.
Um, so with what you've done so far, you've done dry needling and functional release cupping with Bo in Sydney.
Yep.
And you've done some online stuff as well.
Yes.
What's been the most interesting thing that you've learnt in some of the courses that you've done? Some of the
I'd say the most interesting thing I learned is how handsome Bo is in person, I think. Um, and
He's gonna love that.
I reckon he will. But no, I'd say, well, probably two. I'd say is I'd done a needling course through another provider probably in about 2020, I think, and it's structured very differently to how yourselves run yours.
Hmm.
And something as very simple as the needles that yourselves recommend. I think it's what are they?
Red
The
coral.
red coral. That's it.
Yeah.
And just that slight change in diameter of the needle. The ones previously I was using were a 0.25, and then they're a 0.3 with
Mm.
what we did through the course, and that made a massive difference. And the actual feeling you get with the needles is extraordinary. And that
Yeah.
might come back to being with red coral because I think that's a specific dry needling needle, isn't it? Or
Yeah, the Myotech, the ones that we use,
mm,
made specifically for dry needling rather than acupuncture. They're sort of catered for dry needlers rather than acupuncture needles. So
yeah,
yeah, they're very well made needle there. So
yeah,
Red Coral will be happy to hear that.
yeah. And I mean, when Bo actually said something as simple as being able to feel you go through the different tissues, right?
Mm,
And I sort of said, well, I have never really felt a great deal. Obviously, you're touch sensitive for it, but then it was, yeah, it was beyond what I thought by just going up that little bit in the gauge, and then obviously the needle itself being
yeah,
more designed for that. Yeah, I thought was fantastic. But
yeah,
probably the other thing was the adductor group needling. Um, because no one likes having their adductors massaged. It's one of the
yeah.
more sensitive areas, I think, on the body.
Mm,
So to be able to uh, help people through that area without the need for that manual therapy, um, I think they're probably the two things that spring to mind straight
yeah,
up as far
yeah.
as what's what I've learnt aside from those rugged good looks. So.
Those rugged good looks. Um, you didn't learn adductor dry needling in the other course that you had done?
No, no, they didn't touch on that. I think um, they had like the entry level needling and then
Yeah,
the
okay.
advanced. Yeah, so I
The
think
next bit.
similar to yourselves, you progress with the level of muscles that you do or the complexity of them. So perhaps
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was a bit above, or what they thought was a bit above the entry learning.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, there you go. So three things that you found the most interesting were how handsome Bo is, the quality of the needle that makes a difference when you're dry needling on what you can feel and how important that is, and yeah, the fact that you learn adductors in our course, which
Yeah, most
yeah, you
definitely.
did learn from her. Yeah. Well, I'm sure Sean will be expecting you to comment on his handsomely rugged good looks this weekend, so make sure you do.
Well, I haven't met him, so I can't say it for
Yeah,
sure.
that's right.
I,
You can shake his hand and say, "You're even more good looking than Bo. It's incredible."
I'll be expecting it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, well, to wrap up our little interview for today, Dave, what are there any tips that you have for future applicants of the scholarship? Any tips, any tricks, anything you found useful, or yeah, just any words of wisdom that you would give to them?
Uh, I thought for me, I just was fairly openly honest, I guess. You know, I probably didn't hold back in the reasons as to why I got into what I was doing. Um, and perhaps that resonated with yourselves in making the decision. Yeah, the way I thought I'd just spew everything out and see how it went. Basically, the
Mhm.
writing portion, of course, is a lot easier when you get given X amount of words to achieve there.
Yeah,
Most definitely with that 5 minute video, as I touched on earlier, for me was a lot more difficult. I honestly think it was probably 15 to 16 takes it took me because I'd
yeah,
get right to the end. and then I'd go to sign off and I'd just say something really silly, or I'd throw in way too many ums or something like that. And it just wasn't good enough for me. And so I'd be like, right, let's delete that. Let's start again. So yeah, I think maybe take your time with it, get it in early, because I most definitely left it probably till the last minute, and I had Alicia was right into me about that. And I
Oh,
think I only got in for the cutoff by maybe 2 days, perhaps. Um,
I thought you were in sort of early. Oh, but maybe, yeah, maybe you were in just not long
I
before
think I
the
was
cutoff.
cutting it pretty fine,
Maybe it was
but
the week before.
oh, okay,
It didn't feel like it was really fine to us because we
oh,
had
okay.
time to
Well,
look
that's
over
yeah, no.
it.
But yeah, I'd say yeah, take your time with the video and just yeah, don't be afraid to tell your story, because that's what I thought you wanted, was just to know everything about me. And I think I spewed that out in maybe five minutes or just a bit over. So I got it done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, you did a great job. You didn't, we would have had no idea that you'd done 16 takes on that video. So, but
yeah,
yeah, I know the feeling that taking the video, trying to do stuff for social I'm probably the worst at that. I take about 1,000 takes before I'm happy with it and say, have a brain fart and can't get out my words. So,
me as well, most definitely. And that happens when I talk to people day to day as well. So no
yeah.
doubt, came to 5 minutes of sitting in a quiet room recording myself, it was definitely going to happen. So
It's a learning curve. It was another thing you learned. So,
yeah, this is true. And here I am. I'm doing what are we, maybe a half hour or so Zoom call, which I'd have
I
thought
know.
would happen in my life either. So there you go.
That's right. Yeah, you've come a long way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there you go. Yeah. So just be yourself is your
most definitely. I
yourself,
know that
tell your
sounds,
story. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sounds a little
Very
bit cliche, but that's exactly what the angle I took was, just yeah, tell everything about yourself and go
yeah.
from there.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's a great way to be, I think. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Dave, and finally meeting you face to face. Apart from our phone call, this is the first time that Dave and I have actually seen each other face to face because I don't get to many courses anymore, and Sean will be meeting him for the first time this weekend. So I think only Bo, Amanda, and Dalton have had the pleasure of meeting you face to face at the
Yeah,
courses in Sydney. So yeah, Sean's definitely looking forward to it this weekend, and hopefully one of the courses in the future I'll actually get to be there and we'll be there in real life and I can have a chat to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's all guys. I'll sign off now. Thanks for listening.